Good morning, everyone. This is Lindsey Hullison with SPS back in the building for another SPS Monday Motivation. Hope you had a good weekend, but it was a cold weekend. I had that song in my head. It's so cold in the deep. My daughter kept telling me how cold it was. Daddy, it's 24 degrees. It was cold. But let's be grateful during this holiday season that we have warmth for those of us who do. Roof over our head, a bed to sleep in, food to eat, all the basic necessities. So let's not get too caught up in the holiday season of giving and getting all this stuff, if you will, when it's the basics that matter a lot. So what is today's Monday Motivation? Coming off this playoff weekend, it was definitely inspired by the playoffs. I was watching the outcome of Cass Tech versus Belleville. Congratulations to Belleville moving on to Ford Field of play to face Caledonia. Be involved in a lot of those football games going on down there later this week. Thank you to Andrew Fox Jr. of the Fox team, powered by Good Company Realty, just to be supporting SPS and what's going on. But I was watching those games and preparing for these. You got De La Salle versus Grand Rapids Forest Hill Central. You also have Belleville versus Caledonia and Muskegon versus King High School. Oh boy, all these are great games, giving people what they want. And again, thank you to Andrew for being supportive. But I was watching these games, folks, and I was just taken aback. Good morning, Michelle. Thank you for checking in. I should say Coach Mimi is back at it again, coming out of quote-unquote retirement. Is it 5 years? You said. I saw your post say, I'm getting back out here. Good for you. We're going to be supporting you all the way. You know how that goes. But I was inspired by watching these young people play, and as heart broken, I'm sure, at Cass Tech. Shout out to Coach Marvin Rush, and I remember sitting down and interviewing many members of their team before the season even started. And it didn't go the way they wanted, but I'm sure they're going to look at this season being a success considering the things that they overcame. But I just really thought about these life-changing moments for these young people. When some of them won't play another game of football again, whether they're a senior and they're not going on and playing college, and some will, but none of them will have this experience again. And it can be so impactful, good or bad, in the sense that, you can lose these games and they're forever played out in your mind of what you didn't do or what you could have done better. And then you can always go back earlier in the season and think about all the other things you can do. So my Monday motivation comes from a quote I heard years ago that was made by Pat Riley. That's right, Patrick James Riley, former coach of the Lakers, now leading up the Miami Heat. He's won everywhere he's been, probably with the exception of when he took the Knicks job. But it was something that his player Magic Johnson brought up years ago when they were in a must-win Game 7 against the Boston Celtics. And prior to that, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that's right, Cap, had a horrible, horrible game. You can see Kareem in the background right here in this photo, lifting his goggles up. He had a horrible, horrible game. The news media was writing that the Cap was washed up. He was done. And there was a rule that they had. They had some strict protocols as it relates to the Lakers protocol, is that no one rode on the team bus other than the players. No family, no friends, none of that. It was a very strict rule. And they said that Pat Riley, this is through Magic Johnson talking, was a stickler for that. But because of the challenges that Kareem was having, Kareem came on the bus and brought his father with him. So everyone's looking back and watching and looking and saying, whoa, this is not protocol. And this is Kareem and this is dad. And what is Pat Riley going to do? Well, they all were blown away at the fact that Pat Riley allowed Kareem to bring his dad in because he thought and he felt that Kareem needed that. They were telling Kareem that he was washed up, and for him to go to his dad. So this takes me back, and when I saw, the ending of the game, Belleville versus Cass Tech, an overtime game, last play, congratulations to Belleville again, it just made me think about that quote from Pat Riley, and it's just about planting your feet and standing firm. And he said he got that from his dad. Planting your feet firmly on the ground, meaning assume a firm stand, become resolute, and reject intimidation. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Resolute, what does that define as? Admirably purposeful, determined, and unwavering. You could say stubborn, but you say I got my mind made up. And Pat Riley talked about this in his book. He wrote Winning Ways, I want to say is the title of it. The Winner Within, when Pat Riley was a young boy, his father would send him and his older brothers to play pickup basketball games. The games were rough and intimidating, and they intimidated Pat, and he would come home crying. That's right, 77-year-old Pat Riley, as he's 77 years now, tells that story, and I can talk about that, boy. Them pickup games in the neighborhood. Ooh, boy, somebody know what's going on when I talk about that. He said, I want to take him down there because this is the dad talking to the brothers because they were tired of taking him because he would cry and not be into it. And his dad told the brothers, I want you to take him down there because I want you to teach him not to be afraid. This is what Pat Riley wrote in his book, The Winner Within. His dad went on to say, teach him that competition brings out the very best and the very worst in us. Right now it's bringing out the worst. But if he sticks with it, it's going to bring out the best. Boy, oh boy, he said that there should be no fear. Easier said than done. Let me just share, man. Let me talk about my experience growing up. Shout out to Sam Bryant. Right on time. Hello, mother. Good morning. Good morning to you. Look forward to seeing you later when I'm down in the city. Looking forward to that. Shouting out Sam Bryant. I want to thank my mom because she let Sam and Big John, anyone who knows me, grew up where I grew up, knows about these legends I'm talking about. With all due respect, playground legends and guys who just held it down with some of the best hoopers in the city, and they took me under their wing. And thankfully, my mother, with that YMCA membership, allowed them to take me and have me out late, and we would go places and play. Let me tell you something, between playing at the fire department and Dearborn outside, oh man, that was a major, major run. And I was a little guy out there. And the runs we went around, it could be fearful. It could be intimidating. And I remember times we had to fight our way out of neighborhoods. Shout out to Dennis Reed. We was over in Dennis' neighborhood years ago. We had to fight our way out the neighborhood. And thank God there was no gunplay and no one lost their lives. But we're talking about this intimidation factor. And this isn't just left to just males' experience, for females too. There's something to be said about that fear you have of going into a situation. And when someone sends you back, that four-letter word, back, you got to go back. And I'm not talking going back with a violent streak, a violent mindset to do harm, but going back to planting your feet and standing firm. Sometimes it's really about standing up to a person, right? When we talk about that fear, what is fear? Fear is natural, powerful, and a primitive emotion. It's very basic for us. According to psychological research, it involves a universal biochemical response and a high individual emotional response. So there are chemicals in our body that react when we are in a fearful situation. What does fear do? It alerts us of the presence of danger and the threat of harm, whether that danger is psychological or physical or psychological. It can be physical harm or psychological harm. And what we're talking about probably is a combination of both. But one of the many ways you can address fear includes this. You got to face your fears, planting your feet and standing firm. I remember the late Richard Reed, confidant to our family, was there during my process getting raised. I remember my brother got into a fight with one of the fellas down the street. I'm shouting out my hood right now in a good way. And I remember Richard saying, you got to go back. Go back. And it's not to say to go back and win, but to go back and stand firm. How many times do we need to stand firm at our job? Plant our feet and stand firm. How many times do we need to stand firm in a relationship? How many times do we need to face our fears and say, listen, man, we got to address this? And sometimes we don't go into it with the mentality that we have a winning solution, but sometimes the best winning solution is to stand up to it. Hey, man, I really have a problem with what's been going on. Or if it's about there being on a hoop court and you got to take an elbow and throw one back, or if you got to stand up to the bully and face your fears, I would never say that heroes are the people who are the bravest. They're the ones who just overcame their fear to say, look, I just can't let this happen. It's not to say they woke up in the morning and said, man, I'm going to put an S on my chest and have a cape and I'm going to say the world. So, man, I'm just going to face my fear. And many times when we face our fear, it's not all that we thought it was. My mom said my sons would step to it. I worry about that sometimes, but hell it is. Oh, really? This is all coming out today. Mama, we grew up in a place that would make a man out of you, no doubt. And I'm very grateful that my brother and I, may you rest in power, never were victims of that. And despite those young brothers and sisters that we grew up with, on fielding, whether it's from 7 Mile to 8 Mile, wherever it may be, 7 Mile to 6 Mile, we had the whole hood locked down. It was one of those things that you had to stand up for yourself. And it didn't mean you had to stand up for yourself to be the biggest and baddest, but it was facing your fear. And how often do we let this fear consume us, folks? How often do we let this fear overrun us? But the other side of it is, what would you do if you weren't afraid? How much could you accomplish if you were not afraid? I know we talked about fear being able to kind of be a primitive emotion to kind of allow us to be aware of what's going on. But if you weren't afraid of being rejected, If you weren't afraid of being told no, how much could you really accomplish? And many times our own success is based on us just overcoming our fear to go forward. And that's what I want to talk about during this playoff season. This weekend we're going to have people playing for a state championship. Then we're going to get right into basketball and talk about a whole new way of competing. And I just want our young people, both male and female, to know, and our adults as well, face your fears. I'm not saying you're going to go in and have a game plan that's going to allow you to just have immediate success, but face your fears and stand up to it, because we allow these fears to fester and they work on us, and we start transferring this negative emotion on to our loved ones and those who are around us, when it all can be addressed by you facing your fears. I'm not saying I walk out with a big S on my chest and my chest poked out ready for anything, but if it's things that's concerning me, worrying me, and bothering me, I think about it and I find a way to face it. You want to plant your feet and stand firm. Well, needless to say, that speech helped those Lakers win the World Championship that year. They came back and won in the Game 7. And they said a lot had to do with Pat Riley's speech of planting your feet. He talked about his childhood and being scared, but overcoming those fears. And sometimes we got to just go back to the source of it. That's right. We got to go back. That's right. They say go back. You got to go back. Go back and stand up. So maybe this is a lesson we can pass on to future generations, so we don't have those who cower when they're concerned or fearful. So with that being said, I won't keep you guys. It's going to be a full day. Looking forward to spending some great time. Like I said, we're getting ready to start this basketball season. Going to spend some great time with some great teams in the days to come. Just really want to support these young people so they can go on and enjoy their experience now and do great things in the future. And with that being said, this is Lindsey Hudson with SPS. Next time you see me, it's going to be bigging up our young people. And remember to plant your feet and stand firm. You guys have a great day, great week, great month, great year. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.